In ancient times, the caste system was very strict, and the men born into that religious class were called Brahmins, which means the pure ones. And they had the duty to memorize and master all the Vedic rituals and so on. Now, the Buddha was not a fan of this caste system at all, and made the revolutionary assertion that the social strata that we're born into has nothing to do with our spiritual qualities. In fact, neither does chanting pages of holy scriptures, but rather it's about the attitude we choose to develop, and it's about the way we decide to behave. The Buddha said that the real pure ones are those who are patient without anger when faced insults, injuries, imprisonments, that their army is their strength, and their strength is patience. So although the Brahmins in ancient India undertook all kinds of different ritual penance and hardships that were very extreme, the Buddha famously said that of all the hardships, the most supreme is the cultivation of patience. Now, the reason we're looking at that today is that some friends recently told me that they really struggled with patience. And knowing how much importance that the Buddha placed on cultivating patience, they felt that they weren't good enough. Saying, oh no, I snapped at my kids last night. I regret it, but I got mad at this guy at work who's so annoying. I know I shouldn't get angry, but with all the problems that's going on in our societies, I can't help feeling so frustrated, and on and on like that. Now, first thing is first. It's important for all of us to remember that although the Buddha said so many times as such an important part of our Dhamma practice, it's that, a practice, a virtuous state of mind that we cultivate to perfection. A perfection that, when combined with wisdom, takes us beyond stress, beyond confusion. But it doesn't mean that we can be perfect without practice first. That means that a lot of the time, it's not just about being patient with other people who might step on a raw nerve. It's about being patient with ourselves while still conditioned by stress and confusion and so on. When we understand it that way, we remember that fixating on an imagined ideal about what our personality should be like, as virtuous as we might think that is not what the Buddha was pointing to. The Buddha, he was pointing to the liberating realization of the way things are. Which means until liberation and realization have been made manifest, we have to keep cool. We have to keep cool with whatever affects our minds, our hearts, and not let the heat of afflictive emotions overpower us. To keep cool means that our minds are calm enough to be with the appearances to mind, so we can respond through wisdom. When we are overheated from anger, desire, and so on, we tend to get stuck in the appearances. So we react from stress, confusion, and so on. So yeah, we need the determination to practice with whatever arises in our consciousness, with whatever affects us, from whoever triggers it. That's why there's so many Mahayana mind training instructions from great Indian masters and Tibetan masters that says a bodhisattva who wants to develop virtue to the optimum level will relate to any obstacle, any suffering, any adversary as though as they have discovered a wish-fulfilling jewel. Because by utilizing it as an opportunity to cultivate the transcendent perfection of patience, the bodhisattvas, they can fulfill their own and others' welfare, temporal and ultimate. So whether it's rattling us in terms of our well-being or directly disturbing our Dhamma practice, the cultivation of patience is the supreme endeavor for transforming adversity into spiritual growth. When we think of the qualities of our refuge, the Buddha, our gurus, and so on, we don't feel dispirited like we're not good enough, but rather we feel inspired. We feel confidence that since they reflect our own primordial purity, our Buddha nature, which never changes and is present here and now, then definitely we can utilize patience more and more just like them. That's why even when we feel justified in getting angry, we must remember that anger only ever disturbs the mind of our own and others and impedes the clarity of our minds. And it's not part of our fundamental nature. The more we cultivate patience, the more we awaken all the qualities that can help us overcome the suffering in the world, instead of resorting to anger, which always leaves an unpleasant karmic taste in the mouth. So our friend Gompo, who really wants to practice patience, he will help us to remember the most important factors that make up the art of keeping cool. The patience to be undisturbed by adversity. There's so much that can come into our lives and cause us stress, upset, frustrations, and even devastation. And some of it might be accidental. Like when people giving you a hard time or not respecting you, your needs, your boundaries, and your belongings. Sometimes we can get so stressed out by others taking us for granted and not respecting our space. No, Gombo, it doesn't matter what kind of impingement we're dealing with. Keep cool. Some of it, sure, even on purpose. But as the great Shantideva said, if the problem can be solved, why stress out? And even if the problem can't be solved, freaking out won't do us any favors. In other words, we can't fix everything that goes on outside, but we can keep cool in the inside. The patience to deal with stress. Okay, I know. Easier said than done. But a bodhisattva has to rely on their inner peace, not on the blind expectations that samsara is going to be cozy and convenient for us 24/7. Because that's just not the way how the world works. Dharma practice is the way to find that inner peace and to keep cool through wisdom and compassion.
Gombo, hold on a sec. Yeah, we do need to do our Dhamma practice like I said, but we can't hide away from disturbances all the time. Use your inner peace to transform misfortune into merits. That's what patience is about.
The patience of confidence and inspiration. Finally, for Buddhists, you cannot get a more powerful symbol of peace than a Buddha statue. But we are not made of stone or clay, and we might think that we cannot remain as peaceful as that. But if we look carefully, we can see that the Buddha's eyes are not shut to the problems of the world. He looks with an unwinking gaze at whatever arises. And we all possess Buddha nature. So with that confidence and inspiration, remember, keep cool no matter what's going on. And we all possess Buddha nature. So with that confidence and inspiration, remember, keep cool no matter what's going on.
And that's the art of keeping cool.